Judô é mais civilizado. Deve ser barbárie total.
Ok.
Eu gosto da cultura da crítica.
So it's my pleasure to introduce Professor Breno Hax from the Federal University of Paraná. Breno, as I said, is responsible for many interesting meetings in Brazil, in particular this one, causally responsible for this meeting, right? And
not morally.
Not morally. And Breno, this is a good news for us. Breno is starting, he has a plan to start a Center for Cognitive Science in Curitiba. Apparently the Reitor, the president of the university, is already endorsing it. He's going to bring together a lot of good people in this new research center in Curitiba, right? So this is a sort of pioneer work in Brazil, and we're very proud that you're doing that. And thanks a lot.
I'm grateful to Marco's invitation. It will not be an investigation of kind terms, but a short investigation on kinds. In the paper Generality, Salomon proposes that single word general terms like horse and general term phrases like unmarried man are millions. I am interested here only in a subclass of the general terms, the kind terms. More specifically, I am interested in the designata of the kind terms, kinds. I will claim that kinds cannot be eliminable. I will present a proposal about the nature of kinds. I distinguish kinds from other sorts of universals by their relation with their instances. I employ this proposal to argue in favor of the vai ter que cortar isso aí. We can edit general terms. Well, the point is, the general terms are not predicates. They combine to the predicative copula to form a predicate. This is a Salomon's thesis. Horse is a general term, which is part of the phrase is a horse. Salomon thinks that, quotation, every single word general term designates, quotation, a universal of some sort, if not a kind, then a category or a color or a status, etc. The same applies to general term phrases. The adoption of the term attribute is preferable in my opinion. It allows the adherence of the enemy of universals who accepts attributes by considering them to be abstract particulars. Even so, I will use universal and attribute interchangeably in this paper. Every general term designates a universal. The universal either has or does not have instances. The instances of the universal constitute the extension of the term. If there are no instances, the extension is null. Kind terms are the general terms which designate kinds. Horse is a kind term which designates the kind horse and has horses, the instances of the kind, as its extension. Well, Kripke introduces the label medium to classify a position on names in name necessity. Lucidly, Salomon extends the label to designators in general. A designator is medium if and only if its semantic content is its designator. Salomon thinks, correctly in my opinion, that single word natural kind terms are medium designators. In addition, medium designators are obstinately rigid. Two classes of medium designators, names and general terms. In my view, the fundamental difference between names and general terms, although both are used to refer to the designata, lies in the fact that general terms serve to predicate designata too. General terms combine with auxiliary devices to perform this role, but the heavy duty is done by general terms. They are responsible for specifying what universal is being ascribed. The sentence, Socrates is a man, is true if and only if the entity named by Socrates instantiates, exemplifies the universal ascribed. The general term specifies what attribute is predicated of the referent of the name. Every general term designates the universal which is ascribed when that general term occurs as a logical part of a predicate. I am interested in discuss the nature of the kinds. Now, well, what are kinds? In this section, I am to present the difference between kinds and other categories of attributes. In the next section, I will employ this account to give an argument in favor of the ontological inalienability of the kinds. Solomon's account of kinds does not require my account of kinds, but is able to accommodate perfectly well my account. I think that the more intuitive way to present what an attribute is to say that attributes are ways of being. The notion of way of being is a basic metaphysical notion. It cannot be defined in more basic metaphysical notion, more reduced to epistemic or linguistic notions. Attributes, in contrast with individuals, may be exemplified or instantiated. Kinds and qualities are monadic attributes. They are exemplified by one entity. Relations are polyadic attributes. They are exemplified by tuples of entities. How should one outline what the difference between kinds and qualities is? Provided that attributes are ways of being, kinds and qualities are different categories of ways of being. If the difference between kinds and qualities is genuinely ontological, it lies in the nature of these attributes. I claim that this difference rests on different ways of being exemplified. This difference would have an answering grammatical difference too. In my account, kinds are ways of being which mark out what something is. Qualities are ways of being that characterize how something is. I will call this theory WU. The point is that this is an Aristotelian theory. It's not a mine. It's something that it's something like a received view about kinds and qualities, and I am formulating the details of this. W assumes two ways of exemplification. Every entity instantiates at least two classes of attributes, kinds and qualities. An entity instantiates its kind, which marks it out as what it is, and instantiates its qualities which characterize it. The kind horse, for example, marks out what individual horses are. The quality whiteness characterizes how they are. The different ways of exemplification ascribed are grammatically spelled in the predicate. X is a horse, kind. X is white, quality. Another important difference between kinds and qualities is that qualities can have contraries. Indeed, we found qualities occurring in spaces of contraries: hot, cold, red, green, dry, wet, high, low, and so on. There is no contrary to a given kind. W acknowledges a relation of dependence between kinds and qualities. The qualities of an entity X depend on the kind of X. This relation may be put as For an entity X, the kind of X constrain the qualities and relations X may exemplify. If X is of the kind number, it can be even, but cannot be odd. If Y is of the kind horse, it can be white, but cannot be negative or prime. This account easily extends to cover kinds of qualities. Consider the quality of whiteness. This color characterizes how a certain horse is. Whiteness, in its turn, has a nature too. There's something which it is of a certain kind, it is of the kind color. In other terms, the kind color marks out what it is. There are kinds not only of individuals and qualities. I think that there are kinds of matter too. If to be made of certain matter is to be made of a certain agglomerate of individuals, then kinds of matter are ontologically reducible to kinds of agglomerates of individuals. Horse is a kind of individuals and water is a kind of matter. Kinds of individuals may be called social attributes, kinds of matter are kinds of non-individual entities. Well, the point is, what I am is to discuss this argument now. I will employ W to present this argument. Why it is impossible that there might be no kinds. If there is something, it is of some kind. To acknowledge this is the same as acknowledging that every entity has some nature. I think that every entity has a primitive way of being. In my view, this way of being is what the entity is and what determines the qualities and relations it may have. Even ontologies suggested by contemporary science, as the ontology of levels proposed by Oppenheim and Putnam, are not capable of avoiding kinds. Many theorists claim that if a complex entity may be ontologically reduced to its constituents, its attributes, kinds and qualities are reduced too. Every reduction is metaphorically treated as a reduction between levels of the cosmos. We can explicit the argument against the existence of kinds as follows. If we can ontologically reduce a complex to its constituents, the kind of the complex is reduced too. Take a portion of water called M. This portion is of the kind water. But the region of space occupied by M turns out to be occupied by atoms of hydrogen and oxygen. Then, in that region, there is no entity of the kind water, really, but merely entities of the kinds hydrogen and oxygen. The kind and qualities of M were reduced to a certain arrangement of entities of the kinds hydrogen and oxygen. This process of ontological reduction may be iterated. If there is a basic level, the basic entities, whatever they may be, fields, mass, particles, waves, etc., are of some kind. Their kind, provided that there is no more basic level, is basic too. We may say that they have basic natures. If, on the other hand, there is an infinite hierarchy of levels, every kind is ontologically reducible to more basic kinds. In an infinite tree, for example. Thus, even if there is a hierarchy of levels in cosmos, it does not threaten the reality of the kinds. Let us suppose that ontological monism is correct if there is only one single entity. All the perceived variety would be the variety of ways this entity manifests. So the different kinds will be merely apparent ones. but this single basic entity will be of some would be of some ontologically basic kind. Let us suppose two scenarios. In the first scenario, there is only one quark in the reality as a whole. In the second scenario, there is only a lepton in reality as a whole. If this is metaphysically possible. What differs in the two scenarios is that what occupies reality are entities of different kinds. The only argument capable of treating kinds will be the demonstration of the possibility of an entity without kind. What really might be an entity with no nature or way of being at all. I will not repeat.
You mentioned this paper by Solomon that I haven't read, but this idea that in predicative statements like A is F, you have it's really a relational statement, and you have the copulate there, and it's relating A and F. I think it's a very interesting idea, and I wanted to mention that curiously enough, Quine in mathematical logic endorses precisely this idea. I don't know if Nathan knows that. In Quine mathematical logic, when he is starting the chapter on a set theory, the part on set theory, he says that is sometimes means identity, like in Tully is Cicero, but in Paris is a city. It means either membership in a set or possession of a property, and so he makes this distinction between these two meanings of is, and I think it's a very interesting idea. I don't know of any other place where Quine says this. He said it in mathematical logic and then he forgot about it. But it's interesting because you can see it as a way of reconciling higher order logic with his ban on quantifying into a predicate position. Because if you analyze predication in this way, you can quantify into the position of F, and that's not predicate position. The predicate is. So I just wanted to make that point. And so I like the way you characterize kinds. I think it's correct, and I would in one use you can make of this idea is in characterizing ontological questions, because what is an ontological question, one might ask? Well, it's some kind of existential question, but not every existential question is an ontological question. So the question whether there are extraterrestrial beings is an existential question, but it's not an ontological question. So one thing might say is that the ontological questions are about the existence of kinds of things, and they have to be sufficiently general kinds of things. So kinds is not enough, but you can use the idea of kind to give a characterization of an ontological question, which would be this: an ontological question asks about the existence of a sufficiently general kind of thing. But I would have, and there is this idea that we can use this grammatical distinction between is A F and is F to characterize to distinguish sortals from non-sortals. So we say it's a horse, but we don't say it's a white. We say it's white. But I'm not so sure that works in every case. I was thinking, is abstract. We don't say it's a abstract. We say it's abstract, or it's concrete. But doesn't that sound like a sortal? Isn't that the... Because we also speak of abstract objects. So if you want to say that something is an abstract object, you can say it's abstract. Isn't that... perhaps some words like abstract can be used as sortal and also as to ascribe a quality.
It's also is a man and is human.
Right. That's a good example. That's a better example, actually. Yeah. That's a better example than the one I said. Is human, right?
Human.
Human is a kind. Is a kind.
Kind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask you so about Quine? I seem to recall there's a little book he wrote called Philosophy of Logic.
Right.
And I think he says there that there's a difference between saying Jones, let's say Jones is a man, let's say Jones is human, and Jones is a member of a species, or Jones is an element of a set.
Right.
Because when you say Jones is human,
Yeah.
you're not ontologically committed to
Right. Yeah.
anything but Jones.
Yeah.
Maybe even not even Jones.
Yeah.
Not any set or species.
Yeah.
Or anything.
So when I said he
Mathematical
forgot about
logic.
it, I was exaggerating. I mean, of course, my point is that he endorsed this view in mathematical logic, and later on, he doesn't give any argument against it. He just says this kind of thing. When I say John is human, I'm not committed to humanity. I'm just committed to some human and John.
Right.
That's his official view. But in mathematical logic,
He has a different view.
he has a different view.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, he has no real argument against the view. He's just abandoned it in favor of his official view. But the other view is interesting because it, as I said, you can do higher order logic without quantifying into practical position.
Well, you always have sort of nominalistic tendencies, although we believe in sets.
Yeah.
And the view that he stated in mathematical logic wouldn't suit that very well, except that he compared it with sets.
Yeah.
So you would have to say, well, is can mean set membership, but it can never mean property possession.
Yes, he says it can mean either of the two, and then he immediately switches to membership and sticks to it throughout. And he says it would be nice if we could eliminate all abstract entities. We don't know if that can be done, but here we're going to have to speak as if they existed, something like that. And then he starts doing set theory.
May I?
Sure.
The point is, for me, these different meanings of is, they are very different from many languages, but in Chinese, in Japanese, in many different languages, they classify the predicative positions are occupied by characteristically auxiliary devices that indicate when you are saying that what is attributed is matter or the sort of thing. This is a question of empirical linguistics. They are discovering many things about this. Typically, the different, more natural, more civilized, mais maduras, more mature languages have auxiliary devices to becomes clear the difference between what is attributed in any situation. But the point is that I don't develop here, but for example, we have many other examples of uses of the is, like the is of the Constitution, noted by David Wiggins some years ago against Gitch. I think that David Wiggins shows us that Gitch is wrong about the uses of is in some situations when you say that, for example, you say that something is water. In many situations you are saying what is the constitution of the subject of the attribution.
Like the statue is marble. That kind of thing.
Is like it can be read like is made of.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is I think a hypothesis of Wiggins that the is a placeholder for a more primitive way in the language of earlier language when is basically is made of. Don't know, in Portuguese, in French, and in Spanish, we say isto é de, is de oro in Spanish. De oro, I don't know, I am not good in French too. Yeah. But the point is that the predicative position of the is in many times points out something metaphysically, something that the speaker want to single out in the metaphysics of the entity. Then when you say that of a dog, it is a dog, it is of flesh and blood and bones, is made of. We have these many uses, but I don't necessarily, I don't have to buy all the metaphysics of natural language. We can, it may be, we can reduce all these uses to one same use. I don't know. Maybe the use of simplification could be the basic use, and the other uses are constructed above them, above it. I don't know. Then I am not saying that it's irreducible, this distinction, logically irreducible.
No, I'm not sure that I understood one aspect of your talk correctly. I had the impression that you are a realist about kinds.
You are right.
Right? You think that there are really tables,
Yeah.
though from a point of physics, to call things tables is only a manner to slice, to divide reality into parts, and there doesn't correspond anything to these linguistic distinctions we are making to divide things into tables, long tables, titles, non-titles. In reality, I read a lot of Goodman, ways of word making. It seems to me he's a complete anti-realist. He has a book on star making. Even the stars, which seems to be a natural kind, are not stars by themselves. There's not a property in reality constituting the stars. But these are merely ways of world making, right? These are our projections, how we are constituting reality. It's a more idealist approach. What's the reason for your more robust realism, if I got that right?
I could say the famous sentence of Israel Scheffler. I don't know if the sentence is from Israel Scheffler. He says against Tottenham and other guys when we create the word star, does not pop up stars on the universe. They are there. We created the world, but the universe did contain stars before we. Yeah? The point is that if it is not correct that tables really exist or other prima facie kinds, my argument is the following. If there is something in reality, this entity or these entities have some nature, independent of us. And if there is only myself in reality, and then I am something, I have some nature. I cannot understand the position in which there is something, but the entity that exists has no nature at all.
I think I accept your point of view, but I think your claim is very end. That every entity has a nature of
Yes.
sometimes too strong. Take for example my hand, the pen, and the glass here. You are watching some of these.
Yeah.
This entity has no kind of no nature.
Yeah.
So not every entity has a nature of
No,
some kind.
my position is open to different proposals about the nature. If the top kinds are real or not. But my position is, even if a guy defends the claim, even if a guy claims that there are not top levels, like there are no other, but there is hydrogen or even if he claims that there are no oxygen, there another particle, well, the point applies to this last ultimate particle, whatever it may be. This last entity would be something. What sense there's in a situation when there is something, but because I think that some thinkers has taught that science could be eliminate the kinds. We have only matter in the last instance. But what matter? What matter is the last instance. You can suppose two scenarios. In one scenario, you have some kind. You have, for example, leptons or quarks. One lepton, one quark. You are as examples of different entities and different natures. I think that we use the notion of kind to pick up the nature, the way of being, which an entity has in a most primitive way. And if there's even that science could not discover this fact in any time, if there's something, this entity has some qualities, I think, basic qualities, not non-reducible to another qualities. It has some basic.
Do you think that there are facts deciding whether iron is some or not? For instance, it's perfectly possible to construe my body as a sum of its atoms.
Yeah.
Right? Or as a mereological sum of
Yeah.
its temporal sequence, or as a sum of its, or as a class of its molecules. So there are very different ways to model non-body.
The point is metaphysical. You can discuss or use different theories to discuss the meteorological complexes. But, for example, I don't subscribe the position meteorological, but even a meteorologist will need to say that the basic part, the basic mere parts, the basic simple parts, whatever they may be, are some kind of. I think that we could advance. We can advance an argument in favor of the unrealist position about kinds. No merely position conceptualist that we need to think entities with kinds, but I cannot imagine a situation when there are the entities, the existing entities, the genuine existing entities are of no kind. I don't care.
Is bachelor a kind?
I am not subscribing any thesis about the top kinds, if they exist or if they do not exist. But my point is about the basic kinds. Some basic kind needs to be existent. You may be a Platonist and all the abstract kinds possible exist, or a very parsimonious philosopher saying that exist only the kinds of the concrete things that exist in reality. But if they're provided that there is something concrete in the reality, this thing, it seems to me, needs to be of a kind. This is only a modest and a bit ambitious point.
Could you say more to motivate the alternative view? I'm having trouble developing some sympathy for the other side. I think that what you're saying is very sensible. So I'd like to get a better idea of why one might think that kinds would be.
In the past, I thought that science could dispense, eliminate kinds, because when a scientist discovered that the mass of water, for example, here, yes, this mass seems to be a genuine entity falling in the kind water, but he says, no, there is no water here. What is there here is hydrogen and oxygen only. These kinds are genuine, oxygen or hydrogen. Well, and then the kind water was reduced. It's reduced to this another kinds. Well, if there is an infinite tree of levels in the reality, and oxygen and hydrogen are reduced too, we can go to the infinite. Well, in this situation, all the kinds are reduced to one. I don't know if this is possible, but if this is a metaphysical possibility, then we have horizontal tree, an infinite horizontal tree of levels with no basic level, but we have, in some sense, kinds. I don't think that this would be an elimination of kinds. The other alternative is there is some particles basic on waves or fields in reality. These things, basic, they are something. The kind of these waves are not reducible to another entities or kinds. I think that this is enough as a reason to say that these entities have genuine kinds or basic kinds.
I just couldn't get the other way around. Why something would think that there would be an infinite array of reductive levels.
Do you think that there is no kinds in this
It's
situation?
just hard for me to understand to make that clear.
There is
Say
no.
that at every level,
Yeah.
everything at that level, all the phenomena that look like concept that reduces to a lower level. I can't understand what it's about.
I can't. I don't think that it is. I don't think that is a good possibility. I think that we can be fooled by the notion of an horizontal, a vertical tree, infinite tree of levels. I think that we can be fooled by this metaphor. When the guys say that there is no bottom level, he are imagining a situation when you have a non-basic bottom level, but a basic vertical level. I think that they are changing, permuting. This is in English, permutation, a permutation of one for substitution for a basic bottom level for a basic vertical level. But, well, even so, even in this situation, you can say that, well, there is a basic level, but, and who knows, the basic kind could be the basic kind of this vertical level. I don't know, but I am trying now. This is not good. It's not major.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.